Thank you for your time. Pleasure as always. We'll start with the team news and Mikey Lewis. How's he doing?
Yeah, so there's he had scans, so there's a minor issue there. So he won't play this week, but we'll just see how it settles for the next week.
Is it muscle related or is it more bone?
Yeah, no, it's more of a muscle. He's done a better part of the groin, where it's not as bad as if you strained or tore another part of it. So we've got some decent or some good news there.
Is there a time scale on it, or is it week to week?
Yeah, it'll be one of those week to week. We just need to see how he is. He'll be out this week, so he won't be playing this week, and we'll just have to monitor him and see how he goes.
I mean, Danny Richardson will be coming back into the squad?
Richo's, we need to finalise the team, but Richo will certainly be in the mix. We've got some options there, and we'll just wait and see later in the week.
James Batchelor, how's he getting on?
Yeah, so Batcher's he's going to do his best to play this week in terms of fitness testing, and we'll be able to make a call on him later on the week. So we just need to see where he's at.
And any other concerns going into the match?
No, everyone else pretty good shape.
Now, your biggest selection decision has almost fixed itself over the last few weeks. That's one between Artemore and Broadbent. How tough a decision is that for you to make?
Yeah, it's a good headache to have. There's a few good headaches there. As a coach, it's and staff, it's always difficult to pick a team when players are in form, but that's what you want. It's we want competition. We've said it, for a number of years, or last couple of years, is we want to build a squad that there's competition for places, and if players do miss out, then obviously, have an argument of why they should be in, and either way this week, it's both players would certainly wouldn't look at a place in the 17. So we'll just wait and see what way we go with.
What will be the factors that you look at when making that decision?
Well, obviously, I'll keep that to myself, to be honest. But as I said, whether it's Jack that plays, whether it's Arthur, we've got two very capable players there that'll fill the role.
Well, like you said, it's a good decision to have, knowing that either of them can fit in comfortably. One of the other things that emerged this week is a possible link reported in Australia to Adam Reynolds from Brisbane. Is there anything in that?
Look, recruitment, we don't have anything to report on it at this stage. So, when we do, we'll be able to give you more detail on certain things. But we talk about players all the time. How they can improve the squad, or there's a number of players that we speak about. So, but there's nothing to report on in terms of where we're at with recruitment.
Now, one of the players that's been talked about a lot over the last week is Jez Litten, understandably. He's brilliant in the derby. I know you've spoken about him already this season. I remember speaking to you at the start of last year when we talked about Jez, and how the thing you were measuring him off last year was whether he could develop into that 80-minute player, that real proper standout hooker. Now that he's proven that, how are you measuring Jez Litten's success over 2025? What are your metrics for him?
Consistency, that's the main one for us, and that's what we spoke about at the start of the year. But, to be honest, I don't think there's been arguably a more consistent player over the course, over every team in the competition. He's played at 9, made a massive difference to our team. He started at 9, and he's done a great job, and he's come off the bench and 0-all and played in the halves. The main area that we wanted for Jez to improve is consistency, and that's at a high level as well. At the moment he's not in the mix in terms of that England squad, but there's no doubt that obviously Wayne will be looking at him and seeing how consistent he's playing, because I certainly do. But it's one of those where it's early in the season, and Jez needs to continue that. So that's how we'll look to judge his game, because I've said it before. Jez has a skill set that other hookers don't have. He can kick, he can pass, he can run, he can hit. He's a good defender. He gets off his line. The areas he's worked on, he's a lot fitter this year. He's certainly worked on his fitness, and he's more consistent than he has been. So that's the area that we've narrow focus for Jez.
Of course, one of the players that had a big role in that half-back combination after Mikey went off, Tyrone May. He doesn't seem to get talked about enough this year, but subtly I for me, watching anyway, he has a massive effect on how the team shapes up. Do you think he goes slightly under the radar?
Yeah, I definitely do. And I think that's, a great point and good judgment in terms of what you're saying there and seeing. Look, Mikey Lewis last year was Man of Steel and deserved that Man of Steel award. But if you have a look and just look at what Tyrone May did 2 and 3 plays earlier for Mikey to be in space, and when we attack, he's the main person that's organising it all. So I do think he goes under the radar. But he'd be happy with that, or not say happy, but he'd be okay with that. He's not one that looks for the headlines or anything like that. But we value him here and certainly value what he brings. But yeah, he might not be getting the headlines at the moment, but we know what he brings in our team, and he adds a lot to what we do.
From a coach's perspective, is that almost pleasing that he maybe doesn't get as many headlines and he's less of a target for opposition players, maybe?
Oh no, I want the players to get credit when they deserve credit, but I think it's. Some players may get man of the match when they probably don't think or feel that they've deserved it, or their teammates probably don't think that they've had such a great game. And then on the flip side, they could get criticised for not setting up 3 and 4 tries and scoring 2 themselves, but they've played and valued everything that we want, and then they probably get criticised off the back of that. So sometimes it can be inconsistent, can't it? Like what are people looking at? They've got different opinions on how they see the game and what they value in the game. The area that we value is competing hard, and that's what Tyrone does. You have a look at him; he's on every kick sprint to put pressure on the fullback. He's coming out of the line, so he's physical in what he's doing, and he's, as I said, he's the main organiser in our attack. So there's areas that we value, and I think it's important that players get credit for when they deserve it. But if they don't and they go under the radar, we certainly don't miss it internally.
Now, you spoke to Richard said after the match on Saturday about how you dealt with that adversity early on in the game and how that's something you train for in trying the different combinations, training as if Mikey comes out and putting Jez in. But how, as a coach, do you train the mental aspects of adversity? Because there are quite a few errors in the first 20 minutes of that derby. I think the occasion maybe played a factor in that. But how, as a coach, do you train for that side of adversity?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to train for adversity in terms of the atmosphere, and you don't get that at training. There's a lot of different things that you do at training to try and make our sessions as real as what it's going to be. But in terms of an atmosphere like we had over there on the weekend, that's difficult to train for. But we've got a mental skills program that we do. There's a lot that goes into our program around mentality and being able to handle adversity. And the players have responded to that. They've got their own ways and techniques that they do to be able to stay calm in different situations. And I think some players appreciate it as they get a little bit older. Younger ones probably don't understand it, but I think it's important to get them an understanding of it at a younger age, because most teams they'll do the same in terms of weights and strength and conditioning and similar shapes and all that sort of stuff. And I think the difference can be is the mentality side. So there's a lot that is put into our program around that, and the players are responding at the moment. But it's something that you need to keep training like you would physically. You can lose size and you can get unfit in a short space of time if you stop doing what you're doing and eating the wrong things. It's exactly the same around mentality.
Is that something the club was doing before you came in, that classroom side of it, or is that something you've brought in? I'm not sure what they were doing beforehand. So it's something that I valued beforehand, and I understood from a player perspective, and I've seen it done in the NRL in terms of when players are struggling and how to get them believing in themselves again. It's more based around everyday life, to be honest. It's more based around, I'm a massive believer in, if you go to the gym and you train and you go away, I feel good about myself after that. It's similar when you work on that mental side of the game as well, and mentality side, you often feel a lot better. So it's just, it was difficult at the start for us to implement, but we're getting there. You telling me the rugby league players didn't want to sit in a classroom with their notebooks?
No, it's not a classroom. Probably on the beach and and looking at the stars. That was probably one that they didn't like.
Fair enough. Now, I know you won't want to talk about it too much because you want to focus on Wigan, but you've drawn Catalans in the semi-finals of the Challenge Cup. What are your reactions to that match?
Say again, sorry, mate.
I know you won't want to talk about it too much because you want to focus on Wigan, but you've drawn Catalans in the next round of the Challenge Cup. What are your reactions to that?
Yeah, obviously we're excited to be in the Challenge Cup, but I will say, I said it previously, we'll talk about that leading in because Friday's the most important, which is in 3 days. So, yeah, as I say, we're really grateful and looking forward to it, but we need to park that for 4 weeks. We've got four games before that. First one's against Wigan.
A lot of conversation yesterday and this morning about the role that the French sides, the Catalans and Toulouse, play in the Super League competition and the pyramid. From someone on the inside of the sport, for you, what do they offer to the game?
What's that, by being in the competition?
Yeah, by having English teams compete against French teams, what do they offer?
I can only speak of Catalans because I've only been there and they've come here and played against them. They've been a success, as far as I know. What I've seen is, they're a success in terms of being able to bring in a team outside of England and show that they can. I think they've won obviously the Challenge Cup and they're competitive every year, challenging for the Super League. They've got a very good team over there, and Mac's very good coach, an experienced coach, and they want to win, and they show that by the way they recruit. They're aggressive in the way they recruit. So I don't see any negative. If that's the question you're asking around whether they should be in the competition or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, just because there was debate about the upcoming review. I think some clubs saying they don't offer as much compared to the financial aspects. I was just wanting to get your opinions of someone who's inside the game and sees more benefits than maybe people on the outside.
I don't know in terms of finances off the field or whatever. All I can comment on is the team that that we go over there to play, and then when they bring here to play, and then obviously after a season, who they recruit and all that sort of stuff. I'm always going, admire what they do because they're doing some good things.
I think you tell that because you've signed 3 players from them in the last few months, so surely that's a testament alone to the quality that they can bring.
Yeah, they've got quality, as I said, absolutely.
Let's look towards Wigan then. Last year they lost 5 matches across the whole season. They've already lost 3 in 2025. Why aren't they quite hitting the same form that they were last year?
Is that what you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that they're not hitting the same form. They might have lost games, but that doesn't mean that they're not in form.
There seems to be a little less of a fear factor around Wigan, though. Is that something you agree with?
Not at all. I think Wigan's the same team that they were last year. Obviously, they won 4 trophies last year, so everyone's going to judge them on a result. But the second half against Hull FC, obviously they went from dominating that first half then to getting beat in the second half. That's probably half of rugby league that they weren't as good or as dominant in. Whether that's credit to FC or whether Wigan thought they had it, but I look at their side and nothing changes in my mind of how we approach this game and what that team and club are about. So. Yeah, I'll let that, with all due respect, I'll let you guys or yourself if you believe that, but I don't believe that at all.
What will you think a week off has done for Wigan?
It can go either way. It can freshen you up, and obviously they'll be feeling good and fresh, and they would have had some time to train. It depends on what they've put into the last 2 weeks, but it's it can go. It can be good for you, or it just depends on how you turn up on the day. In terms of attitude and mentality, and I've got no doubt that they're going to do that. So it'll be a tough physical game. We know exactly what we're going to get. We know what's coming. Whenever we can come and play here, it's always a tough game. So this week will be no different.
And this will be the 5th time you've faced them over the last 12 months. For you preparing for the match, is that a good thing, or would you prefer to face them less?
Definitely face them more because it means that we've played them in some big games. Wigan's always going to be in big games, and we want to be in the big games. So, it's whenever we play them, there was one game there last year that they blew us off the park, but most of the games are competitive, tough, physical games, and the players certainly know they've played in a game. But that's what rugby league's about. So, hopefully this week again we can both teams put on a spectacle that's entertaining, because there's two good sides going at it. And as I say, it's if you're playing Wigan more times, then it means that you're doing okay, because they're going to be there at the end of the year.
Thanks for your time, Willie. I'll pass you over to others, but good luck on Friday.
Cheers. Thank you.
Hi, Willie. How you doing?
Hey, Matt.
Just a quick one on recruitment. Not specifically names, but I know you spoke about Tyrone May last week, and obviously everyone's quite aware of that situation and where he stands and where you stand. From a recruitment perspective, and in terms of the timings, when do you have to make a call one way or another on any player in terms of whether this is to go? Because there's that balancing act of not waiting too long and missing out on people who might go off the market. But, if you wanted Tyrone to stay, you pulled the trigger early and decided you want to stay, you can't keep him. It seems like a bit of a balancing act of getting the timing right. So I just wondered how that works.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Lakin and I, we discuss recruitment and pretty much every day. I mean, every GM of footy or CEO and coach would be speaking about recruitment ongoing. Yeah, we certainly do, and we like to plan ahead. It's worked for us in the past, but there's ones there. Once goes after that November or December time, any player now like Tyrone's available for any team. So we've had conversations around that. So at the moment, it's one of those where the players that are off contract naturally could get snapped up by another side and vice versa. So, we talk every day, and that's pretty much. I mean, as I say, at the moment we don't have anything to openly say, but there's discussions around a lot of players internally, but externally, which is ongoing.
Do you think Tyrone might decide to stay? I know it's a two-way thing. He's got to work for you as well. But do you think there's a situation where Tyrone might be at the club next year?
Yeah, it could be. We don't know at the moment, as I say. It's one of those, mate, that it's Tyrone has openly said that he wants to go back and play with his brothers. He's said that a number of times. So look, obviously he'll be waiting for an opportunity to see that opens. As a club, we obviously need to move and look at opportunities that pop up, because you can't just wait and then something comes up and Tyrone ends up getting another club, goes back there and we miss the boat as well. So there's discussions, as I say, between Paul and myself and at a board level, that we look at what's available, and we're fully aware of what Tyrone's ambitions are and what he wants to do. Which is number one, is to play with his brothers. That's number one. But that's not to say that he won't be here next year. I don't know. But it's, as I say, he's openly said that he wants to play with his brothers.
Brilliant. Cheers, Willie.
So.
Hey, Willie. Go on, James. It's all right.
Hey, James.
Yes, sir. Hey, Willie. So obviously only round 7, but because it's Wigan, because you're challenging for trophies together, is it bigger than your average Super League game this weekend?
I reckon we say it every week, which is the beauty of the competition. Like, it really is. Like every game's tough. There's going to be a reason to say it's the biggest game. Like, I think I've probably stopped saying that now as a coach. I think I was getting to that last year, and you can sort of go into the trap of this is the big game. This is our biggest game to date, or this is a really important game. But then you hang on. Well, why is it next week? And it is, like, especially this time of the year, because of where people are sitting and who you're playing against. And so look, this is so what we try and do is just narrow focus to go, this is the biggest game of the year because it's our next game. And then obviously the next week, because we've got a derby again, and it's going to be another narrative around that, which is good. It's good for the game, and it's good for the build-up and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, our first focus is playing against a team that won 4 trophies last year, which is a big game in itself.
You could go 6 points ahead of them. That would be a pretty handy advantage, wouldn't it, even at this stage of the year?
Yeah, obviously it would. I'm not going to say it won't, but you need if you think about outcomes, before process, it's you often get it wrong. So, look, what I'm looking forward to is just to seeing how. Last week's been about big games, but the atmosphere last week was the biggest in terms of build up and what the derby brings. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how the players, come back to Craven Park playing against extremely the 4 trophies team. They won everything on offer last year. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how we handle. But handle after last week, which I said it after the game. This team prides himself on is, once they've played a derby, is being up the week after. So, I'm looking forward to seeing us perform.
Yeah, because to win things, you need to do it over and over again, don't you? Week after week, and obviously not looking too far. You've got another derby, haven't you, next week coming up? Yeah,
it is. It's to play. I think was said a couple of weeks ago, our next month of footy, but then I guarantee you get through that, they'll be talking about the next month again, and so on. So, it's just really is about the next game, but this is our biggest game because it's our next game, and it's against Wigan. So, we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to coming back home, and getting the support that we get every week when we play at home. We had tremendous support last week. It was at 3,500, but sounded a lot more. So we're looking forward to performing well for them.
Oh, good stuff. And just one final one. Obviously, you got a decision at fullback. Is there a way you could get both of them in the team, put Arthur and Morgan in the house? Perhaps is that a consideration?
Yeah, there's a few different options. I think this week's probably one where I've got a staff, coaching staff that we. That we pick the team together. I'll obviously have the final say on it, but this is probably the first week. There's been a lot of different opinions on who plays and then, what the bench looks like. And it's a good thing to have. It's a good thing to have. So we've definitely got options there. And we'll just work out what we do.
No, good stuff. Thank you very much, Willie.
Cheers, James. Thanks, mate.
Hi, Willie. It's Gary. All right?
Hey, guys. Good, mate. You?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Did you mention before the players didn't necessarily want to be on the beach staring at the stars?
No, it was just part of our mindfulness program that we did. Now, when we go to Tenerife, we got them up nice and early, mate, doing a bit of meditation stuff. So it was new to them. It was different, and obviously it is for some people. It's not for others. When you're doing that sort of stuff, and it's like. It's like what we do on the field. There'll be certain drills that players get themselves into and get up for, and then there's others that aren't sort of engaged as much. It's very similar to what we do with our mindfulness program.
So it was in Tenerife, not East Yorkshire?
No, it was in Tenerife. Yeah, it was.
That would have been better if you did it in East Yorkshire.
I tried to get him in the water. They didn't want that either, so couldn't understand that.
In terms of the whole sort of mindfulness program, what other things do you do? I mean, obviously, the staring at the stars thing. How can that sort of translate to the rugby league field?
Yeah, so stare at the stars, mate. I was just having a bit of a joke around that. So we do a lot of meditation. There's meditation. We do a lot of visualization. There's a lot of other things that go into it. We've got Jimmy, who's our S&C, so he basically looks after that. So when I first come over, I didn't know anyone to outsource to bring anyone in, so I wanted to see internally of who could sort of specialise in that area. And Jimmy's exceptional at that. He bought into it. He as I say, he's taken that program to different levels now. And as I said, mate, it's not for everyone. It's just part of, as I say, it's just part of going to do weights and doing squats and stuff. We just make it part of our program. So certain players buy into it more than others, but as long as they get something out of it, then we've achieved what we want.
I was going to say, without perhaps naming names, what are the sort of whinges you've had about all this?
Early days, you get all sorts. No, I'll be honest, mate. They weren't too bad. As I say, I understand that. Certain things, especially around this, is not for everybody, but it's one of those where if you do certain activities or drills or, whatever it is, you don't go away going, I wish I didn't do it. You actually feel better about yourself. So, we're massive here on, it's not just the player, it's the person as well. So if players can go home and be better fathers and better, better husbands and better people in general from a little bit of mindfulness sort of stuff and tap into that, then we've achieved what we wanted to. But look, as I said, it's something that's ongoing. It's something that we're building and developing. It's something I'm passionate about because it helps. Well, I believe it helps.
Yeah, it's like you can have all the physical attributes you can want. You can have all the skill you want, but it's what goes on between your ears that sort of separates the good players from the great players, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's all around mindset. Absolutely it is. If you've got two players that are very similar in terms of talent, then you have a look at what the difference is. It's the mindset, and that's what we try and develop as well. It's that belief within yourself. Like some players, or younger players, they don't know who they are as players because as a young man, sometimes you don't know who you are as a person. You work that out in your mid to late 20s. So it's all around just helping them. I know it's deep, but helping them with that sort of thing as well. But as I said, once you know yourself as a player and a person, then majority of the time you're going to put in strong performances, and you're going to understand yourself more. You're going to understand why you feel a certain way or why you do things, why you don't do things, and it's just about understanding yourself as a person, as a player. I mean, I was having a good conversation with Joe Warea-Hargreaves about it because he's at that later, and now he gets it. He understands it. He works on himself. He's the first in and last to leave. Because he knows what his body needs, he knows what his mind needs to get him ready to play the way he does. So it's not just about turning up the trainer for him and you just do your hour and a half and you do your gym and you go home. There's so much more that goes into it, and the mentality side's massive for him.
That's Belter, Willie. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, guys.
Hi, Willie. It's Martin here.
Hey, mate.
How are you doing?
Good, mate. You?
Good to see you again. Yeah, just looking at the game last weekend. When Mikey Lewis came off with that injury, I wonder what was going through your mind at the time, because obviously Jez came on and actually played a blinder. Did you think he would do that?
Look, I've seen it at training, mate. I think 2 years ago, Jez would go on and just fill that spot in terms of play halfback or play at 13, like play loose forward, like so he could fill a spot. The difference now with Jez, and I think the pre-season helped him, and obviously where he's at with his career and where he's at with his, again, mentality, in his game and who he is, he's about going out there and making a difference now. And that was, so naturally losing Mikey, as a coach, you don't want to lose your man of steel and your key playmaker. But bringing in someone like Jez, I was confident to the point where, the physios were saying that he could possibly go back on Mikey. I was like, well, no, he goes back on if he's okay and can do his job, because we've got a player out there that's more than capable. So, that happens over, a number of training sessions and doing it and putting him in scenarios. And, as I say, he's been really good, Jez. Ever since he come back from pre-season, he's a lot fitter than what he's been. Therefore, he can do things for longer, and that's the key with him.